You found yourself on another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, and on today's episode, if there's one thing you need to know about the Sacramento Kings, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, as the Kings overcome a 47-point first quarter by the Detroit Pistons to ultimately win in the Motor City. We got a lot to break down right here on Let 'Em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'Em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, Nation, we got a wild ride to talk about, and you know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, your Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and Chicago Bulls post-game reaction podcast. And I am your host, Scarlett Weisberg. As always, thank you so much for tuning into today's program, and you can find Let 'Em Know Kings United, which is 100% completely free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, or wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms if you can. Please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you want to listen to this on. It is a great way to support the podcast, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in to today's show. And this game between the Sacramento Kings and the Detroit Pistons last night felt like a roller coaster ride that I didn't really feel comfortable being on. Now, to be in a little bit of a side note here, I like roller coasters, okay? I like roller coasters in general. When I was a kid, I used to go to this amusement park in, I don't know, what was it, Greenbrook, Boundbrook, it doesn't matter. An amusement park called the Boatcraft, and I know this because one time when I was little, my mom used to be one of the chaperones in that trip. I think I was in elementary school or preschool or kindergarten at the time, I don't remember, but one of the rides that I liked when I was on Boatcraft years ago was this dragon roller coaster that looked pretty cool, right? It looked pretty cool. It wasn't steep like some roller coasters are today. It wasn't steep. It was a very fun experience to ride. But this game, though, it was anything but. Although the Sacramento Kings won 131-110, they ultimately did what they were supposed to do, and they took care of business. I'm not really happy about it, particularly what happened in the first quarter. Now, first of all, this Sacramento, or I should say, this Detroit Pistons team is quite honestly, without zero questions, without zero hesitation, the worst. I'm going to say it again in case some of y'all didn't hear me in the back. The worst team in NBA history. Worse than the Philadelphia 76ers before Joel Embiid got there, and when Brett Brown was an absolute disaster. And the worst team since the Charlotte Bobcats 7-59 season in 2012, which I don't want to re-trigger anything for all my Charlotte fans out there, but my freaking Lord, this Detroit Pistons team is absolutely terrible. They have a record of 3-34 on the year. They pay a head coach in Monty Williams, who is a very good coach, by the way. Who is a very good coach. He led the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals a couple years ago. He's won Coach of the Year. I feel that Monty Williams is a good coach. But you pay him $78 million to coach like absolute dog crap, and he hires assistant coaches like Steven Silas, who struggled in Houston a couple years ago before Ime Udoka got in. And by the way, Houston is getting a little better. They're getting better. They have struggles on defense, but they're getting better. The Bulls will see the Houston Rockets tonight, so I'm a little bit worried and I'm a little bit concerned about that because Houston's got some playmakers like Alperen Şengün, who is an absolute stud, and Fred VanVleet, who is going to get his. But back to Detroit. Monty Williams, you are terrible, my guy. You are a really terrible coach, especially when the Detroit Pistons pay you $78 million to coach like absolute dog crap, and you put Steven Silas in a coaching staff that doesn't know how to play defense. This Pistons team is the worst team in NBA history, but they certainly didn't look like it in the first quarter when they nearly dropped a 50-piece in the first quarter. Nearly 50! It's not that... Look, I'm going to say this. I credit Sacramento for making adjustments. I credit Sacramento for responding with a 39-18 first quarter and a 33-15 fourth quarter. I give Sacramento all the credit in the world for that. I give credit to Mike Brown and the coaching staff for making adjustments in the game. I am really happy that Sacramento responded during the course of this game for the second quarter on, and they ultimately did what they were supposed to do. But I am not happy, and I am not going to accept another 50-point quarter given up to the worst team of all time, not just in today's NBA. I think this Detroit Pistons team is the worst team of all time. No wonder why I changed the name from Let 'Em Know Kings in the 313 to Let 'Em Know Kings United, because the Pistons are just absolutely doggone terrible. But they couldn't miss. They couldn't miss in the first quarter. They shot 70% from the field, 7 for 10 from three-point range. Bojan Bogdanovic cannot miss all night, especially in the first quarter. And they were without Isaiah Stewart, aka Big Stu, and they were without their leader, Cade Cunningham. If I was Sacramento, I would have scored a 50-piece in the first quarter for Sacramento. And we would get 47 points in the first quarter, and they would get 29. But then again, you found a way to make an adjustment. You ultimately did what they were supposed to do. But my God, the defense in that first quarter was absolutely abysmal. But I give credit to Mike Brown and the Sacramento Kings more specifically for making adjustments and stepping up their defensive end. The Kings trailed by 20 points in the first quarter, led by 15 in the third, and let the Pistons tie the game in the fourth, and then pulled away down the stretch. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, a part of me feels like it was an absolute trap game. Part of me is Sacramento found a way to make an adjustment and ultimately did what they were supposed to do. But ultimately, there were some points where we played our game and some points we were playing their game. Ultimately, we won, so that's all that matters. But let me tell you something. If you give up another 50-piece quarter to the Charlotte Hornets tonight, which, by the way, made the Bulls go to overtime the other night because of only two guys, Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier. I want to see if Sacramento can defend Terry Rozier and Miles Bridges better than what Chicago did. And by the way, you owe them one. You owe them one big time after Charlotte embarrassed you at your home floor because you let a Hornets team hang around. You let a Detroit Pistons gain a little bit of hope in the first quarter, and that's what ultimately almost costed you this game, and that could have been the most embarrassing episode of Let 'Em Know Kings United that I have ever recorded in my life. but you ultimately found a way to win, and I'm really happy about that. I am also really happy about a couple of individuals for the Sacramento Kings. Keegan Murray dropping 32 points. He could not miss. His shooting stroke was on fire. De'Aaron Fox, you already know what De'Aaron Fox could do. He scores 26 points on the night. Malik Monk came to play off the bench. He was an absolute spark plug for the Sacramento Kings. But I cannot forget about one man in particular. Despite a trash first quarter for the Sacramento Kings, there was only one man that came to play in that quarter, and that is Domantas Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis. I'm going to say it, and some of you might agree. Some of you might disagree with me. Some of you might agree with me. It's time to put Domantas Sabonis in the MVP conversation. Yeah, I said it. Forget the All-Star conversation for just a second. It's time to put Domantas Sabonis in the MVP conversation. He scores 37 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, another triple-double with this man, and some of his baskets and some of the things that one big thing that Domas did to make a big impact in this game, and I love Domantas Sabonis for this. He was setting great screens all night long. Whether to assist is the other players, like Keegan Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, for example, or set screens for a pick-and-roll action with a two-man game on Malik Monk and Domas, or De'Aaron and Domas, to get baskets for himself. Just outstanding. Just outstanding. This man is playing the best basketball I've seen in quite some time. Forget the All-Star conversation for Domantas Sabonis. It's time that we put Domas in the MVP conversation. Mike Brown credited the Kings for how they responded tonight. He said, "I thought our defense was great after the first quarter. We gave up 47 points in the first and only 45 in the entire second half. Offensively, I think we were really good. We've had 39 assists on 54 buckets. That's big time." And it is big time. I agree with you, especially after the worst first quarter I've seen in a long time. For a team like Sacramento to respond after that, I gotta give the Detroit Pistons, I gotta give the Sacramento Kings credit. I mean, that was completely outstanding. Monty Williams said, "We had too many turnovers, and there were too many times where we struggled to get into our offense. When we start having some success, teams are going to hit us in the mouth and get physical with us. We have to be able to overcome that." I give credit to Sacramento for turning up their physicality on the defensive end and getting in to a lot of big runs. I really loved that. Keegan Murray said, "I don't think there's anything we need to change. We played 5 bad quarters, but once we get out of the mindset, we did a good job. We just need to play 4 quarters at that level to be a really good team." I like that. I like that, especially from Keegan Murray, because it's not that the Kings are a bad team at all. I think Sacramento is a good basketball team. Not a great team, but they are a good team. They're a playoff caliber team. It's just that the mindset and mentality for Sacramento needs to stiffen up and needs to change a little bit. I want to see if Sacramento can play all 4 quarters with an aggressive mindset and a better mentality. They've done that against Memphis. They've done that against the Memphis Grizzlies with Ja Morant in the lineup, mind you. They did this thing where they played a complete game on all ends of the floor. If we could do that against Charlotte tonight, then the sky's the limit for the Sacramento Kings. Murray also said, "I think we were just really aggressive. We had 9 deflections in that quarter, and I think that was the turning point of the game." The Kings hit 11 of the first 12 shots of the second quarter and responded well, and they led by 3 in the half, then started in the quarter with a 15-3 run to go up big. Detroit, though, narrowed the gap to 98-95. There were some times in this game where I thought we couldn't keep the foot on the gas pedal. When we have big leads like this, especially against the worst team in the league, you have to be able to keep your foot on the gas pedal. But Sacramento was able to do their thing. They ultimately did what they were supposed to do, and they ultimately got a big win to start the road trip. I need to see a better effort, though, from the Sacramento Kings against the Charlotte Hornets tonight. They are capable of getting a better effort. I just want to see it. They're going to ultimately do what they were supposed to do, and they were ultimately going to get their payback on the Charlotte Hornets, but I still need to see a better effort tonight from Sacramento and not give up a 50-piece first quarter to a Charlotte Hornet team that only has Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, and that's pretty much it, okay? But the Kings shot absolutely well for this game. They shot nearly 60% from the field compared to 47% for the Detroit Pistons, 39% from three-point range. The rebounds, 44-40 in favor of the Sacramento Kings. The assist, 39-27 Sacramento. The steals were 12-8 in favor of Detroit. The blocks, 6-2 in favor of the Sacramento Kings. I guess you can figure Domantas Sabonis played a big thing on that. They feasted and beasted in the paint all night. And that was a big difference in this game. 82 points in the paint for Sacramento compared to 46 for the Detroit Pistons. I mean, at one point, Katie Christensen said the Sacramento Kings had 60-some-odd points in this game with a lot of time in the quarter. Why? Because most of their baskets came from inside the paint. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. Play the inside game first, and then the outside, the three-point shooting, the shots from distance, they gon' come. They gon' come to you when you play the inside-out game. It's a simple game. It's a simple game, and Sacramento played simple all night long, especially after giving up a 50-piece in the first quarter. They found a way to respond and did what they came to do. Domantas Sabonis, it's time to think that he is an MVP caliber player. 37 points, 13 assists, 3 steals, 10 rebounds, a plus-minus, a plus 28 on the floor. Keegan Murray, a plus 32, 32 points, 5 of 9 from three-point range, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 big-time blocks. De'Aaron Fox, you already know what this man is capable of. 26 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. Kevin Huerter, he didn't make an impact as far as scoring with only 4 points, but he made an impact in many different ways. He had 5 rebounds, a steal, and a block, and 5 assists. I really liked Kevin Huerter's game outside of the scoring, which was pretty non-existent. Trey Lyles, 6 points off the bench, but he had 8 rebounds, 3 assists. That's what I like to see. He was a plus 31 on the floor. Malik Monk, Money Malik, I don't know what you call it, but this man was absolute money. 20 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 big-time blocks, and a steal. He was a plus 18 on the floor. Bojan Bogdanovic, the former Sacramento King, or was it Bogdan Bogdanovic? Or I don't know. I don't know which Bogdanovic played for Sacramento. It doesn't matter. He had 26 points, 3 steals, 2 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. He was 4 for 7 from 3. He couldn't miss in the first quarter at one point. Jaden Ivey, the 5th overall pick in the draft a couple of years ago, he dropped 22 points with 6 assists and 5 rebounds and also 2 steals. Off the bench, Alec Burks did really well for Detroit. 16 points, 3 rebounds, assists, and a steal, but ultimately, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, and the defense and physicality stepped up for the Sacramento Kings as they ultimately did what they were supposed to do. But Sacramento, promise me that you will never take me on another roller coaster ride like that, okay? take care of business against Charlotte and do it the Sacramento Kings way, all right? That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, or wherever else you want to listen to this podcast. Give the show a follow on those platforms. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends. Give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you want to listen to this on. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time for another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United.